Hi everybody, mabuhay. It's Carla Batan. Welcome to the Talent Huddle. What keeps you up at night? When you have Anna and all of these different coaches, as the COO of a global organization, what keeps you up at night? Does Anna go on a vacation when the PTO is not approved?
Yeah, I think just like all CEOs, CFOs, CEOs, they're going to be concerned about, did all of this that we put into it, is it really creating real value? You know,
Did you overinvest? Did you?
Correct. Did we overinvest? Did we invest in the wrong areas? Did
Is
we
it really solving problems?
Right. Is it solving problems, or are we just creating more problems ourselves? So I think making sure that we're looking at this with our eyes wide open, and making sure that, is this really going to make an impact? Those are the kind of things that really make me think, are we spending too much money?
Yeah.
And I've been asked this before. You're going to spend X amount of dollars. You know how many people you could have gotten in order to do this?
I've had the same conversation with a CFO last week.
That's right. And those are the things you kind of have to balance out, because again, what does the ROI look like? How many months, years, whatever, until you hit that? And in the meantime, they're going to say, well, you could have gotten 5, 10, 50 people.
Oh my God, same.
Right?
Are we all having the same conversation?
I think they all talk together. And they're like,
I think they have a group chat.
And they're like, let's ask these questions.
Yeah. Today we're going to ask this question, guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the kind of thing that keeps me up. How much of what we're doing is really adding real value.
Real value.
And not just real value in terms of dollars, but in terms of impact to recruiters, to candidates, to everybody else that it touches.
When I have conversations around, you invested in this tool, my CFO always thinks that the TA team of Penn Brothers is quite expensive, and in all his rights, because he's a CFO.
Right.
So obviously he's going to talk math and numbers.
Yes.
And one of the things that I think I've put my foot down as an ROI of the tools we're investing in is the satisfaction of the employees. It's the happiness of my team that they are part of an AI forward, responsible recruiting team. And I don't think that leaders talk enough about happiness in their workplace.
Yeah.
Earlier you said heart, right? Like in a people-centric organization, in a highly functioning AI forward TA team, I heard you say earlier about heart. For me, the word I use is happiness. One of the ROIs I look at, on the business side of it, the impact of all of these investments of Penn Brothers in our overhauling our recruiting function is on retention. Really, it's the new hire retention. It's poising them for success. It's QBR season, as you know, because it's mid-year, and I'm actually going to report quite soon that our retention rates for new employees are really high. So that is I would say, tangible impact and return of investment for the tools. But I will never be apologetic for saying that happiness of my team is also part of the ROI.
Yes.
I wonder what your thoughts are about that.
As COO, I'm all about the people, and because all of that rolls up to me too.
Yeah.
It does make a difference, when they are happy and you retain people. It does make a difference, because on the practical side, and when you talk to your CFO, you're talking about retention, and you talk about the numbers, like, look at the number of people I did not have to replace. Right? I did not have to replace.
There is value in that.
There is value. I did not have to replace this, and the people that stayed, in terms of productivity and in terms of skills, they've exceeded it. So.
And knowledge retention, right?
Exactly.
You don't have to always train new
Constantly
people.
train. So there's the cost of replacement, which means cost of trying to hire somebody else, the cost of getting it wrong, because sometimes you get it wrong, and then the cost of the training, and sometimes they fall out. So there's a cost of all of that. So even if you retain 1% more than you did before, there's a cost savings to that.
Yeah.
And then that continues to expound in terms of the knowledge. So retention and happiness is really very important. The heart. And I think the hard numbers sometimes is the thing that we don't talk about. We're always, with a CFO, that's the way they think, right?
Yeah.
They think in those hard numbers.
We have to accommodate that, but for
exactly.
people like us, it's also part of the KPI.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it is. And but for you and me, we see it and we're like, okay, this was this is a good day. This is a good month. This is a
I
good
think that
quarter.
what leaders also don't scope really well is overtime.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they just don't declare it.
Yeah.
Like you see people emailing at 11 p.m. and as leaders, we're not happy about that because we want to, outside of work, we want them to have their life.
Yeah.
And I always tell my team, this job is supposed to empower you to live the life you want.
Yeah.
So you cannot be working all the time.
Yes.
But honestly, I hope that more leaders also factor in not just the tangible ROI of a tool, but also the impact of these innovations and investments to people's happiness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you mentioned earlier about some companies getting it wrong. I think, and based on what I've heard about PSG and your different coaches, I think you guys have a very good understanding of how this whole ecosystem works. But outside of PSG or in general, what do you think companies or leaders have gotten wrong about implementing AI in recruiting?
Yeah. I think we talked about it. I think one of the big things that they'll get wrong is they think that if I get this AI, it's going to solve all my problems. And then they don't have a good implementation plan and change management plan for everyone else in the company. So they just automatically will bring it into the company and think, okay, let's put it on, turn it on. All right.
Problem's gone.
Okay, you guys. All right, go for it. But they haven't really talked about it with everybody in the company, or they haven't talked about how it's going to affect or should change what they do in terms of their workflow. So change management, I feel like, is sometimes something that people get wrong, or companies will get wrong.
Yeah.
They don't, and I think that this is with anything, right?
Not just AI.
Not just
any
AI.
change you need to make in a company.
We really need to carve out some time for this change management, because people are people. Not a lot of people like change. They want to keep everything the same.
Yeah.
And so when something like AI comes in, I think that's when it becomes slightly problematic if they haven't prepared for change management and implementations. I think also, again, when they think of, solving all of its problems, the ROI piece to it, again, everybody
Where's
has
my
done,
cost reduction?
Right.
1 month into the new tool.
Exactly. And then I think also where they might get it wrong too is they may take this great tool, but they don't utilize its full potential. But in reality, you're paying for
the full
thing, and you've used it for this much. And then when they think, oh, it has this much impact, but we're paying this much, again, the ROI doesn't
then
match.
It's not going to math.
That's right. So you really have to understand what is its full potential and how are you going to integrate that into your work process.
So I like reading, and every day I would purposefully look for articles of how AI is. I mean, we are aware of some of the laws that's happening for some US-based companies, so we're looking out for those. I think that what I've seen companies do wrong, or some leaders do wrong, is that they don't start with what problem are we solving. They think that, oh, everyone is on ChatGPT, everyone is on Claude, everyone is on Gemini. Let's have it too. I'm going to buy that too. I'm going to subscribe. I'm going to get tokens. But then for what? That's why I think that's I think what you meant by you buy the full suite, but then you're underutilizing it. You're maybe using 1/4 of its capacity because you selected the tool first as opposed to what
problems are we solving? Exactly.
So I think that for some companies or some TA leaders who are just starting their journey or refiguring things out, my advice, and I think Monica agrees to this, is start with the problem. And then find out what tool works for the problem.
Correct. That's right. Yeah, because your problem could be much smaller than you think it is. And maybe you don't.
And then you're over-investing in a tool.
Exactly. You're over-investing in something that, you didn't really need. And, so yeah, I think those are some of the things that people have to be cognizant of.
I have a fun question for you next. If you were to apply for a different job, I'm not saying Monica is going out of PSG, okay, but hypothetically, if you were to apply for a job, would you go through an AI interview? I'm putting her on the spot. This is not scripted at all.
I think so, yes. I would. Partially because, again, depending on what job it is, but I think I would, just for the curiosity of it, to see whether it's better than Anna. because it isn't.
Yeah.
But I think I would, yeah, just for the fun of it. And if I was especially if I was applying for a different role or a different job, again, depending on the role itself. If I'm applying for to be a waitress, that would be awesome. I've always wanted to be a waitress. Have I ever told you this? No. I've always wanted to be a waitress. I don't know why.
Is it the fun of the customer service?
I think it is. Because I like to talk to people, and I like to talk about products, food, and then I can tell them, this is good, this is not. Well, I wouldn't say it's not, but they'd probably fire me. I'm not a good waitress. Oh my God,
not good waitressing. Yeah,
but I would do that. Like on roller skates. Have you seen those waitresses on roller skates? Yeah. Anyway.
It's good to see that part of you. I didn't know. And then roller skates. Okay, based on what you know now about industries and the tools, and Anna, obviously, where do you draw the hard line of what AI should not touch in your seat as COO, not just in TA function, but in an organization as a whole? What do you think should AI not touch at all?
Do you mean like in the organization that I'm in, or
in general, or maybe you can draw up on your PSG?
Maybe I'll answer it in a couple of ways. I think sure. I haven't really. I don't know. I think in a lot of ways where we have tried to, as we built our AIs, there are some things that we said, you can't build an AI for this, or you should not build an AI. When you're talking about counseling somebody, this is not something that I believe you should, delegate to an AI, because again, we're talking about real people with real problems. And if you're talking to an employee and they're talking about their infertility issues and how they want to have a family, you don't delegate that to an AI. Or if you're talking to somebody and they're talking about the stress that they have at home because they're taking care of elderly parents, you can say that too. You can kind of type that into an AI and say, like, how do you feel, or whatever.
It's just not.
It's not real,
it's
though.
It's not going to click with you,
right? It may give you an answer, but it's going to give you an answer that you might want to hear. But it's not going to be real, because ChatGPT, Claude, they really haven't felt what it's like to lose a parent. Or to have lost a child. There's no emotion to it. They can probably say the right things because they looked it up somewhere, or it's something that's been programmed. But the real heart of it is that it's only human to human that I can feel pain, or I can feel joy. And that's the only way that you can relate. I think, so when we talk about building all of these AIs in the employee journey, counseling and mentoring is probably an area that we won't touch. Or I would not touch, because you need that human to be able to have that relationship and conversation. Childcare, I think. I'm not sure I'd let Claude take care of a 5-year-old. Right, but
would you want your recruiting team to deliver a disqualification notice or message? Would you want that handled by a recruiter, a human recruiter, or would you want that handled by AI? Carla Batan, thank you for your application, but we're not selecting you for this round. Would you want that conversation handled by a person, or do you think those awkward, tough conversations should be AI'd?
I think it depends on the role, because some roles people apply to 10 at one time. And they would want to know right away, okay, am I qualified, am I not qualified? Why am I qualified, or why am I not qualified? And sometimes an AI or a tool can actually say, okay, you're not qualified because you didn't meet X number or whatever. That's okay, that's fine. But I think for roles that require somebody to really talk to them, I would probably say 80% of the time I would want a recruiter to have that conversation, because it's a disappointment. You know what I mean? And again, that has to do with an emotion.
Still the human element.
Correct. It's still an emotion that has to say, hey, I'm sorry for this particular role. We're not selecting you for this, but we may have something in the future. We're always hiring. There's going to be this. Or the human also may know, okay, there's a different role. Would you like to try out for? I'd like to submit you for this, et cetera, based on your qualifications. I think you'd be a better fit. And I think more often than not, again, the emotion of a disappointment or something like that should be handled by a human.
By a human. I think that what I've seen some people do in general is they make AI handle the difficult conversations, because that's what I fear for the future also, which is this generation going to shape people managers of the future that go around the difficult conversations, and now it's just about give me a script for.
That is a really good point too, and I think this is one of the questions that I think we, again, as leaders have to ask. What kind of leaders are we building in this AI generation, you know, in this AI world that we're so like, ooh, this is so great.
It's so polished all the time, actually.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, and
that's how you know it's AI, because it's so polished. And then when you talk to them in person, I'm like, that's not polished.
That doesn't sound like you. But yeah, I feel like that's another question that we should be asking. What kind of leaders are we developing in this AI world? Because when we were growing up as leaders, there was a certain way that we were learning, and it was through either observation of leaders, or it's direct mentorship, or it's through mistakes that we've made, mistake after mistake after mistake that we've made, that you learn from it. But in this world now, where AI is building, and it's helpful, it is absolutely helpful, but how do we make sure that the leaders that we are developing and building are going to be responsible for the tools that are being given to them that are so powerful? I think that's a question that we're not asking.
We don't talk enough about it, for sure. I think that everyone is still trying to figure out AI, which is fine. I think it's a phase, but eventually we do need to start thinking about what kind of leaders will this new era bring forth. Is there anything else that you want leaders of a business, or leaders of TA, leaders of HR, or any other C-suite that you think they should be cautious about, worried about, be careful about in this new era of AI and implementing it into businesses, aside from what kind of future leaders are we creating?
I think I'm going to answer that in terms of like the business today, and then kind of the generations to come. I don't know if I can say for the generations to come, but you know, I can say for the business today, I think that we should continuously be very cognizant of what AI can and cannot do, or what AI should and should not do. Those are two different distinctions. And as leaders, again, we have to be leading that, to be able to say, hey, this is where we are being responsible, and this is where we're not being responsible. I think also that's a leadership question, and that's something that we constantly have to ask. Besides all of the business side of it, it's really what kind of next generation are we building, because we have it today. I think the other thing, again, because you know, we talked a little bit about Victoria Heartstrong organization and the underprivileged. I think what is also happening, or what I'm concerned will happen, is the access of AI tools. Because today, those who are underprivileged and going to, you know, certain schools, they're getting a certain level of education than others are getting, and there's a gap there. Now, when these kids also get access to AI tools, and they have access to everything else, that accelerates their education. But those who don't have access
gets left behind.
They're going to be left behind, or they're still, you know, trying to catch up. So that gap between what these kids are learning and what these kids will learn widens. So again, the information, the technology, and all of that for this group, that will accelerate them to all of these jobs that they're going to be able to get. But then, how does it happen for the rest of them who don't have access to it? So I think what may happen, unless we can help change that, and that's again something that when I have more time, I will solve that world problem, is the
I'll be with you in that journey.
Is the education gap. And how do we bring that access to those communities that don't have it, or wouldn't traditionally have?
What would you say is the impact of AI for the next job applicants? For example, companies now are thinking that, oh, I want to hire a CFO who is AI savvy. I want to hire an HR BP who can Claude code.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's an education gap. It's not like I went to school yesterday, graduated today, and then the curriculum I took is AI. So I am starting to see a few demand, not crazy, but there's been a few requests where I need to find someone who's like AI native. And I'm like, is anyone actually AI native? And also in the Philippines, I mean, all of these technologies did not spring from here.
Right.
But my question to you is, where does this all lead to? Are business leaders actually asking for the right talents? Are they asking for the right qualifications? How do you combat that or advise to people like me, like, heads of TA, that job actually does not exist?
Right. I think it goes back to what problem are you trying to solve with this person, right? Are you trying to solve somebody who actually needs to be a great CFO? And is that one qualification of them being AI native, which probably doesn't exist today right yet, for that level, is that going to solve what problem? I think that you start there first.
Yeah.
Like you said, what problem are you trying to solve by adding this into it? Or are you just adding it in because it's,
it's the hype.
The hype right now, And I think that becomes a little bit tricky because in reality, I sometimes do that too. So, when we're trying to hire for ourselves, I'm trying to ask them, well, how much AI do you use? And then I realized as they would answer the question, which a lot of times is that they don't use a lot of AI.
They polish emails.
Yeah, that's, they search for something or whatever, but they don't really, use it, or they don't really build it. And then I started to think, okay, well, that's okay, because not every company has the resources to build their own or to be able to do those kind of things. But I think what is more important is how willing are they to learn?
Yeah.
And how willing are they to learn on their own to be able to get to a point where it is helpful for them to be at that particular role, or to be better at that particular role that you're looking for. And I've been doing a lot of interviews over the past couple of weeks for a role that we're looking for, and that was one of my questions, like, how much AI do you use?
Yeah.
Because I'm looking for, do you use it at all? Because I think that not at all is not that's not acceptable anymore. But if they use it a little, but I'm learning, and I want to continue to learn, okay, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
Because
potential.
That's right. You're looking for the potential, and you're going to bet on the potential than what is potentially just there.
Yeah. So is the real conversation, should it be not whether AI will take your job, but what you're doing with AI that helps you?
Correct.
With your job security.
Yep. That's right. I think it's always in any way, right? Whether it is AI or not, how much are you investing in yourself to learn and to be able to accelerate your career? So AI or not,
Yeah. So before, it's about leadership and training.
That's right.
Curriculum. You go to I don't know, whatever workshop, because you're future proofing yourself. You're preparing yourself for what comes next.
Yeah.
That's why in my intro I said I'm so tired of this, this whole noise around how AI is going to take your jobs. But at the same time, I'm cognizant that it does to a certain degree. But at the same time, the next phase for us is, how do you synthesize AI into your workspace, into who you are? Whether you're a finance person, you're a recruitment person, an HR person, how do you absorb it to your core so that it actually becomes part of your workflow? And it's not just a tool, an expensive tool sitting in your work suite, but it's you're actually using it.
Yeah. And I think outside of just learning AI, there are still some things that you still need as a professional to continue to move. And I think key areas like great communication skills, not language, not English, but how well do you communicate your ideas? How well do you organize your thoughts? How well can you negotiate with somebody? I think communication skills are still going to be important outside of learning AI. I think decision making, problem solving, identifying a problem, AI can't always do that for you.
It's only going to operate in the context you gave it, but your human mind will always have more context.
That's right. And then making a decision, problem solving, making a decision making, all of those are still very important. And if I was hiring anyone, those are probably the 3 key skills that I'm still going to look for. Is, how great are you at communicating? How well can you identify and solve a problem? And how well can you make those decisions?
Anything that you think you're going to redo again in your whole Anna and the PSG journey of incorporating these different coaches and this AI workflow? Anything that you think you would do again and do better?
Do again and do better. Gosh, and can you imagine? It's only been about 1.5 years that we've done this.
Maybe not just in PSG, but as a whole. Is there anything that you think TA leaders, COOs, CFOs should maybe sit and think about, okay, let's do this again and let's do it better?
Yeah, I think if I looked at not just Anna, but like the whole Aura Suite and the employee journey, I think I would have set up a way to measure the impact a lot sooner. Because I think that you're very excited to build it and you're very excited to implement it. And then
the awkward side of
like,
what's happening now?
Not sure. And so I think that measurement and trying to decide whether or not is this making an impact, is it making the right impact, I probably would have done a lot earlier. I think also in terms of getting people ready for it as well.
The change management.
Yes, I would have, probably started that a lot sooner, got everybody on board to be able to kind of build it out and get everybody on board to like try it out and like, okay, believe it. And okay, here's the problem. Okay. Or I saw this glitch, I saw that, and I think this is where it could be better. I think would have been another way.
For me, I would say, I wish company took a step back and look at it from an enterprise level, because if you assign this to department VPs, they're just gonna think about themselves.
Their own,
like how I think about just my team function. But the problem then becomes my tool does not connect with finance, but my tool solves my problem. So I'm gonna fight for it. But at the enterprise level, your tool does not connect with everybody else. And all of a sudden, you still have, even if they're AI powered, you still have tools that don't connect with each other. So for me, that's what I would do better, which is, yes, you're the vice president of TA, you're the head of TA, you're a COO, for example, but the bigger enterprise scale of it is what I wish people would take a step back and look at it from that perspective. So, learning for everybody.
So do you have different tools to solve different problems?
Yes, and the thing is they don't talk to each other. But again, like I'm gonna fight for this because this solves my TA problem. But then finance has a problem with, the billing is impacted because your tool does not connect to my billing system. So now you have to figure out, how to do API and webhooks and whatever. But you don't. That's not part of your scoping. You care about, this is my world. This is my KPI. I'm gonna deliver on my KPI. But whose KPI is it to make sure everything works and talks? And obviously, it's gonna be your CTO or your VP of software dev. But that's just one thing I would do better and do again, which is, yes, it's going to solve my problems, but also more than that, is it going to solve an enterprise level problem? So, okay, I have run out of questions. And you've been so generous at answering my questions. I wonder if there is any last message you wanna say from your experience. You obviously have global scope. Is there any last message you want to say about this whole, where does AI fit into this people-centric business, which will never change, like what you said earlier? Anything
I think else? As we continue to see AI progress, I think that it's really important to, again, as a whole, where is AI really going? I know if you look at it, a lot of money is being pumped into this industry. And there are so many of these small companies that are getting funding and all of this kind of stuff. And the one thing that I'm concerned about is, like, how much of it is too much, and is there anything real happening with a lot of these different companies? So I think that as leaders and as potential buyers of these different tools, we have to be very cognizant of what kind of tool are we getting? Is it something that, like you said, is it only going to solve this one part? And if all of a sudden something happens and this isn't working out or whatever, how does this impact everybody else? How is it going to impact everyone else? So I think keeping those, like the future in mind, not just
the bigger picture in mind also.
Making sure that that's still there as well. But like you said, or like we've said, this is a people-centric industry, and I think it's always going to have a certain amount of heart. And as leaders in the industry, as leaders of different companies, it still becomes our responsibility to keep everybody aware of what it can do, what it can't do, what it should do, and what it should not do. I think that's one of the biggest things as leaders that we should keep in mind.
Perfect way to end it. Monica Maralit, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.